Hello, welcome back to Painting Classic Cars and the Transit Part 2. As you can see, since the last video on the Transit, we've got it onto the scissor lift just for the initial inspection. Because when it was delivered to us, it came with all of this bounty for us to be getting on with. So we've had to empty it out to ascertain A, what we've got, and B, what's going on inside the van. So we've got floor pans here, we've got front section, mid section, we've got rear quarter panels, we've got inner wings, outer wings, sills, loads of bits to be getting on with. As I say, there's been a lot of work already carried out in the van. It's been done really, really well. So we're just picking up where they've left off. So if we start actually with the good stuff, we come up the front here. Anyone that knows transits will know steps, sills, they just fall apart. All of this has already been done. Really nice. It's had sill steps let into it, outer sills, inner sills under here are all done. So it's all been let in and done a really nice job. Underneath all the dust here, we've got new inner wings, we've got new dampers, top mounts on here. It's got coilovers on it, this van, so it's all been nicely modified to take that. Loads of work done up the front already, which is great. It's certainly broken the back of it, so to speak. We've still got front wing to put on. So we've got front wing to put on, we've got a new scuttle to put into it, which we've got down there in the list of bits and pieces. So it's kind of a ready-made kit for us to crack on with. There's all the obvious damage, which I don't need to explain, that's obvious. And in the back here, all the floor is just perforated and corroded through all over the place. So we've obviously got the panels here ready to get in, and you know, it's nice and straightforward. We've got all this space to work in. What we have found, which we were kind of aware of anyway, if I just put the scissor lift up a bit, this lift isn't really designed for work underneath. So this scissor lift is great because we can be working here, saves the knees. So we've got a nice working height. If you come in and underneath here, you'll be able to see all along the inner sill here, which I think, Luke, if you can get in and kind of flip that underneath there, might take a little while to focus up, but all the inner sill on this side and the little outrigger down the back there is all quite nasty. And there's some repairs to do on the inner sill on the other side as well in exactly the same place. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to carry on with this video. We're not just going to leave it there. We are actually going to do some things. But I think what we're going to do now is move the poor shop truck once more off of the two-poster ramp. We'll get the van over onto this ramp where we can get it right up above our heads, safe, secure, and we can set about getting an inner sill into the van on both sides, which will allow us to then come back to this ramp, working at a nice working height, knowing that underneath is all good to go. And we can get the floor pans in, we can get the rear quarters done, and get it all moving in the right direction. So we'll pause now, we'll have a swap about of vehicles, and we'll pick up once this is where the pickup is. Okay, so we've now got it moved and we're onto the two-post ramp, so we can have a better look underneath and assess what's going on. We're strapped down onto the ramp. We've got an extra stand here, just security, safety. It's all quite rotten all the way along here, so there's no panels available here, so we'll fabricate this up, putting the little strengthening swage back in. Fairly standard, nasty MOT patch repairs here, we'll get those out and gone. This side's not quite so bad, but it's a little bit more complex because we've got the step, the side door step. So there's more panel work in here, and there's corrosion in the centre part of that sill. So we're going to have to cut this outer section off, which needs a few repairs anyway. So we'll cut this off, make up all the inners, repair the outer, get that back on there, and start getting this inner structure together. There's issues at the back, but we'll come back to that at a later date. So we're just going to work this centre section really throughout this video, and we'll come back to the back as a separate video, and yeah, let's get some panels made. Right, with the basic panel now made up, all the old corroded stuff out, we're now starting to weld it all in. We're not going to continuously weld it just yet, and we've also left it a little bit long, because if you come out to the other side here, we've obviously got this whole panel here is coming out, it's all rotten along here. So we left our panel, repair panel oversized, so that we can get our replacement panel in here, which will come off the bottom of the sill here, and we can then spot weld it all the way along this flange and trim off the excess. One of the reasons we're not fully welding it yet on the inner sill is with all of this out, we can then get in behind here with a hammer and dolly just to refine this panel so it's fairly rough. I mean, it's close, very close. It's a little bit rough in places, and as we're welding it and with the suede, you've got a little bit of distortion. So if we just tack it in where we need it, we'll get this bit cut out and stitched in here as well. We'll then move to the outside, cut that panel off, hammer and dolly this up, stitch it in, and then we can fit the outer panel and then start working on the chassis legs. We've got that ready here, and put a new section in up the top there. So we'll get on with that now. Right, so we've carried on now. As I said, we've cut all this out, that's all now formed in here, and we've done the chassis outrigger extension down onto the inner sill. So that's all done. Put a nice new section in up here. There's a few rough bits up the top here, but they're actually welded to the floor pan, and all the floor pan at the back's coming out. So we've ignored the rough bits. We'll deal with that when the floor pan comes out. But it's now, as I say, we hammered and dollied and got that pretty nice all the way along here. Another extension piece put in here, so it's now welded to the front half of the inner sill. So that now is rock solid all the way down through there. And then on the outside here, it's all feathered in, cleaned up. You remember the old rusty panel was here, so that's obviously gone and out of the way. So it's all welded in there. We've now coated it in the Novel epoxy, so that once we box this in with the new panel over the top, there's nice quality protection on the inside of there. We're nearly ready now to start dressing out to get this panel going back in there. As I said a little while ago, earlier in the video, we're a bit wavy along the bottom here because we just left it oversized. When there's so much damage, you don't really have a dating point, because the bottom of this panel was all corroded, the bottom of this panel was all corroded, so there's no real dating point. So leave everything oversized. You can always trim it back. It's harder to add it in at a later date. Now, this is also quite a nasty repair that's gone in here. So we've actually got a rear half, we've got a lower rear quarter to go on here as well. So what we'll do is we'll start dressing this all back, cleaning up the flange at the front here, so that the panel will actually go in a little bit of an angle, because there's no access inside here once it's all closed in, and we've got a plug weld along here. So we'll go in at a bit of an angle, plug it down here, then pull the panel back round, because this side we can plug from the inside when we fit this panel. Hope all that makes sense. It will become clearer if it didn't make sense as we progress through the video. So next stage will be getting this panel ready to go on. Okay, so we've now trimmed off the back quarter, or forward quarter of the rear quarter. So that's trimmed out the way, which is where this end panel is going to meet up in here. We've trimmed off the original flange down here, made a couple of small repairs along here. What else have we done? We've also welded on a bracket on the inside here, which I'll overlay a video to show that. So now what we're going to do is, this is all trimmed up, ready to lie straight up hard against the B-post. And what we've decided to do, as you can see, I've already done it actually, is cut, the panel came across here. And we're not going to try and stitch it across here, because that's a big area that can get, that will warp quite easily. But within this swage here, in the original panel, there's a bracket all the way across here, reinforcing bracket, with a series of spot welds all the way through this. So what we're going to do is basically join it straight through the middle here, because we can screw the panel tight. We'll trim all this line off here, pull it all away, and then we can screw the new panel into here, which will keep its shape, because we've got a nice bar behind here to keep it bolted up to. So what will happen is this will get lined up properly on here, so it lines up with the bottom of the sill here, and then we can spot weld all the way along this flange here, and then we'll weld continuously along here with the old material cut out of the way. So that will be a flush joint all the way through there. That panel will then be in place. We can work on the back section here, which will probably come into like a part 3 video. We're not going to walk you through every single repair on this video. We'll probably have like 90 parts to the video, and all kind of repetitive, just in different areas. So we will condense a lot of this down, but we'll just focus on getting this repair done and call that a day on part 2 of this video. Yeah, all good, mate. Okay, so that's all in there now. As you've been following along, that's seam welded all the way through here, linish back. We'll weld it in the back here, that's in there nice and tight into there, with plenty of zinc in there for protection as well. We've got a tiny, tiny low spot just here. We'll be able to dress that back out again. And we've got a tiny one, there we go, just a little one in there. So tiny little bit of dressing out to do. We've trimmed up the bottom, spot welded all along here. I will make a note, I've still got these to do here, but the arm's in the way. So that's all the repair done for this this section of the panel. So we've got all the inner is now done, the outer is now done. We're now moving on to this section in the back here, which will be the lower quarter panel and the inner wheel arch well. So we're going to get on now getting all this cut out. We're not going to serialize that in the video because the process is basically the same as this, but we'll take some imagery along the way and include it at some point in video number 3. So that's the transit well underway now. Hope you've enjoyed this. Back with a shiny car next week or midweek, and I think we've got some restoration work coming up as well in another video for the following weekend. So if you've enjoyed this, please don't forget, hit the subscribe, and we'll be back with some more very soon.